And this is tonight, we're going to talk about our upcoming, and by our, I mean all of us here, tsunami exercise on March 29th. And of course, this is in honor of, well, or co-located with Tsunami Preparedness Week, which in California is from the 22nd to the 29th or 30th, thereabouts. And we'll come back to that because you can send messages throughout that period. We do recommend the fifth Saturday, makes it super easy to do this. So without further ado, I'm Oliver, K6OLI, and for better or worse, I'm the District Emergency Coordinator for Aries LAX Northeast, and for whatever reason, the QR code to my QRZ here is blocking the LAX Northeast. That's actually us, and if you saw this mountain range behind, it's not as green anymore because that's where the Eaton fire was burning on January 7, 8, and 9. So with that, this is the agenda for today. We're going to do an introduction of the tsunami exercise. We're going to give you a quick dashboard demonstration where your messages wind up, and then we'll do an example message. So what I think tonight is, it's train the trainers. So we hope that you go back to your organizations, your groups, your clubs, and take what you've learned tonight and kind of share it with your friends in the amateur radio hobby locally, and maybe we'll get you excited about participating. With that, what is a tsunami exercise? One of the challenges we have is Shakeout is only once a year, and it was Dan Sohn who suggested to have something every 6 months. So we were looking for something like that, and my better half, who is very well versed in these things, pointed out that Tsunami Week is the end of March in California, as well as other parts of the world. So we said, why not do that? And so what the exercise does, it encourages all interested radio operators, and it means everybody, to send amateur radio Winlink messages to tactical address Tsunami during Tsunami Preparedness Week, which is from March 22nd to the 30th. We did share the exercise with our friends at the United States Geological Survey, USGS, and they are, their word, excited about it. So please participate, have a fun time. We will share our dashboard with them, and they will be happy to get the Did You Feel It reports as well. We did set a date, Saturday, March 29th, because that's when we in our group will have an exercise. And we hope that you take the opportunity to work on your own preparedness, not just for tsunamis and floods. We have a little bit of both in there because not everybody lives in a tsunami zone, obviously. But take it as an all hazards exercise, right? As communicators, what we do is very similar regardless of what the hazard or disaster is we respond to. We found that in the Eaton fire, our group fell back onto its training. And although we did use texting a lot, we did do the same things that we do when we support hospitals. But instead of supporting hospitals, we were supporting each other and our amateur radio operators who had to evacuate during the fires. So take these exercises, regardless of the theme, as an opportunity to prepare you, your family, your friends, your neighborhoods, and of course, your radio groups. Excuse me. Here is the exercise webpage, and I already posted it in the chat. You can also scan the QR code here at the bottom right, and we have a couple more QR codes coming up. It's a one-stop shop website. So what it does, you can go there and hopefully all your questions will be answered. And we do have the exercise information, including the step-by-step PDF that I will show you in a little bit. Scenario, I sometimes refer to this as the comedy too. So on March 29th at 1629 UTC, it's supposed to be 8:29 at our time, an earthquake swarm rocked the Earth's crust. This creates large earthquakes with magnitude 6 and through 9. They appear over several hours. And the earthquakes cause significant tsunamis around the world, just so you guys all can have all fun. In Europe, Hawaii, and the Philippines, several volcanoes erupt and blanket the atmosphere with particulates, which then leads to large rain systems that inundate inland areas, hence the flooding that had been spared by the tsunami. So if you live, let's say, in Arizona, you thought, oh, great, tsunami, that's a California problem. Not so in this exercise. There will be flash flooding as well. So take that as part of your exercise. And then volunteer radio operators, that's all of us, are scrambling to provide situational awareness and backstop critical communications. So that's the scenario. Pretty fun. We want this to be fun. I mean, you can see I really had a great time generating these pictures. I hope they kind of give you a sense of the drama that we kind of expect, but we want you to really have fun with this exercise and then step through the different messages. You can certainly combine the exercise with a local exercise. That's what we're doing. So we also will be deploying to our hospitals, and we will send hospital traffic and as well as the exercise traffic I'm going to show you in this presentation and some APRS. But that's kind of what we're doing. You don't have to do that. You can focus on the PDF if you want to in a tsunami exercise. You can work on the exercise as a group, or you can do this solo. If you don't have a group, you're more than welcome to participate. We've tried to make this as inclusive as possible. Participants, all interested amateur radio operators are welcome. Just a thought here, the exercise is a collaboration, of course, of a number of groups. Aries LX Northeast, San Diego Aries, Hawaii Aries, San Joaquin Valley section, Whatcom Washington, ACS Aries, Snohomish County, Washington participates and amplifies. The Winlink Austria group, WLNet-OE, as of course the DARC, the German group Winlink Treff, and of course the MCOM training organization, ETO. And I hope Bob is online tonight. He will tell us a little bit more about what ETO has planned for this exercise. Assumptions. The exercise assumes some basic familiarity with Winlink. You do have quite a lot of time between now and the 29th to become familiar or to train your local club, maybe have a workshop or two that helps people train for this. In our group, we tend to train towards exercises on our weekly nets as well as at our meetings. You have the latest Winlink standard templates, so please update those if you can, that operators can operate and fulfill tasks on their own accord. That's a big one because there's not going to be any hand-holding. We expect you to read through this and follow the instructions. And we assume that operators are able and willing to follow basic instructions and complete tasks. So those are our basic assumptions for this, right? The objectives are pretty straightforward. One, read the instructions, please, and then send 6 Winlink messages as outlined in the instructions. We ask everybody to maintain an ICS 214 activity log. If you haven't done that, there's quite a lot of information out there on how to fill one out. No reason to make this into a PhD thesis, but just have the main points of what you're doing when you open your station, when you start sending your first message, your second message, when you checked whether your messages have arrived, and when, and so on, all the way until you secure your station. That should go into your ICS 214 activity log. Send a USGS did you feel it message, which is in a Winlink form as well. A Winlink check-in, a welfare bulletin board, and I'll show you what that looks like later. An ICS 213 general message, and they all have tasks associated with them, as well as a checkout. So one goal of this exercise is to have it a rounded exercise. It's not just a check-in like most nets. This is actually more realistic in that there's a check-in, there's a checkout, but there's a lot of traffic around that as well. And I think that makes it more realistic. If you wanted more challenge, do you have a question?
Yeah. Remember this Sunday we go to daylight saving time. So are your times based on daylight saving time or on some other time, local time?
Local time. Everything's local time. Again, the times are guidelines here. They're not supposed to be the gospel. If you cannot make the 29th and you send anywhere between the 22nd and the 29th, that's perfectly okay. We're not going to kick anybody off for that. In fact, if you report an earthquake with the exercise ID tsunami during that time, we will say this is part of the earthquake swarm, if that makes sense.
Right? And the other question was, the slide is marked confidential. Can they not share it?
No, it's because the copyright and confidential happened to be on this particular Google Slides thing. Has nothing to do with the. I could have deleted it. Makes zero difference as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, that answers the questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, and
Question.
we wanted to. Go ahead.
Check in after the 214s started and the DYFI submitted?
Right, and there's, I mean, again, we're not going to ding anybody for, and we're not going to ding anybody for anything, but generally speaking, the way that deployments work is we do want you to set up for the exercise, so maintain your ICS 214 and probably separate from everything. But there is an event that you're reacting to. In our case, those will be the earthquakes, and the global earthquakes, right? The swarm. There's an earthquake nearby. I had that conversation with a ham from the East Coast not too long ago, and he said, "So what's your notification procedure?" And I said, "It's very simple. If there's an earthquake, we're notified." So that's kind of how this works in California. There's a disaster, and then you say, okay, what's going on? Is it our problem? Is yes, then we need to do something about it. If not, who's going to do something about it? But same thing with the fires, right? The first indication we had of the fires wasn't a text message from the county. It was looking out the window and seeing a plume, an enormous halo. So again, there's a notification there. In our case, that's an earthquake, and we want you to react to the earthquake and then check in. There's also preparedness aspect to this. Whether you have, like Gene pointed out here, a wind event, right? Before you do anything else, before you get excited and hop on to the local repeaters or start checking in with your HF nets, make sure your family's okay. Make sure your property is okay. Your car is in a position where you can move it if you need to leave for whatever reason. So make that part of it. Take a breath first. Take a look at your situation before you get active. It's very important to take those 5 to 15 minutes to do a 360. By the way, we do that every time we have an earthquake or every shakeout. We do a 360 before we send any messages. Go around the house, make sure we know where the gas is, make sure we can still access it, all of those things. So that's why the did you feel it is first. That's your notification that something's wrong. Then you check in with your group, and in this case, we called it R2. It's completely make-believe, doesn't matter. The point here is the amateur radio Tsunami Watch Organization. It's part of the comedy, right? So send a check-in with the additional tasks that we ask, and then a welfare bulletin to inform everybody else in your surroundings that you're okay. An ICS 213 that asks you to do certain things, and we'll show you that in a moment, and a checkout. So that's kind of a complete thing. Please do check out. That is absolutely critical. California is a door-to-door state when it comes to any kind of deployment. So the responsibility of the organization starts when you leave to go to the incident, and it ends when you get home, but not before that. So it's really important to have these checkouts there. All the check-ins should be matched by checkouts. It's one of the things in our group that's gotten better, but reminding people to send those checkouts to the right address is going to be a task for everybody. All right. And again, March 29th is a recommended date, but not written in stone. If your group wants to do this on a Thursday or Wednesday before that, by all means, have at it. All right. We also recommend that you register with Tsunami Zone. Those are the people who actually put the Tsunami Preparedness Week together. It's completely optional. You don't have to do that, but you do get a fun certificate of participation. Why does that matter? Well, if you're affiliated with or partnered with an agency locally, you can share that and say, hey, listen, we did something for this, and have a little after action report. We sent these 6 forms. This is what we learned from this. Here's a map. Here's a link to the dashboard. Take a look and see what our capabilities are. It's great advertising for you and your amateur radio group locally. You can also find resources on tsunamizone.org, training resources, kind of a whole lot of fun. And I'll show you in a little bit what that website looks like. And by the way, this is organized by ECA, the Earthquake Country Alliance, who also organizes Shakeout. A couple of questions that we get quite often. So we live far from the coast. Can we still participate, right? If you're in Arizona or Minnesota or Louisiana, absolutely. The exercise adds rain, so inland areas can include, well, I think Louisiana is a bad example because they can have tsunamis there. But the exercise does add rain, so you can add flash floods, whatever's appropriate for your area. Add that, make that part of the exercise, right? And there's actually a question regarding that as well. And then where do the messages go? Tsunami messages go to LAX Northeast and are shown on the dashboard. That's our little Aries group. And then we process it. Processing time on the dashboard is about an hour. So if you send it, check back an hour later. And by the way, it's a good idea, therefore, to have the time of your message sent on your ICS 214, because you can say, well, it's an hour later. It should have arrived by now. We'll show you a couple of things that can go wrong. Sometimes messages are received, but they're missing the form data text attachment. If that's the case, it will not match, but we'll talk about that. And then the Did You Feel It messages go to the USGS for the Did You Feel It program, and they actually use that information. They're super happy, and there are additional tasks in there so you can relay how you sent that message, because one thing that our friends at USGS point out, they're super excited whenever all of us are using radio frequencies to send this, whether it's HF or FM or mesh or whatever you use, but it's great. It's good for them to know that these reports would be available if the internet weren't available. Does that make sense? All right, cool. Exercise instructions. Let's go over the common exercise instructions. Please use caps on the name for the incident. The incident name is Tsunami, just to keep it easy. We want everybody to send the messages to Tsunami. Did you feel it? One caveat there, please leave the USGS email and then CC Tsunami. We can semicolon Tsunami, but we want you to leave the default USGS address in there in the to and send the Did You Feel It to the USGS. As I said, they're super excited about this, and they're looking forward to getting reports from all over the country and the world. And then, of course, the CC, ETO drill. The MCOM training organization uses the tactical address ETO drill, and they will be super happy to actually get your data. In fact, Bob set up a fantastic grading system. This shouldn't be called grading system, a feedback system, right? That provides additional feedback. Super smart setup, highly recommended, and we encourage everybody to add ETO drill. So you could do Tsunami and then CC ETO drill, or Tsunami semicolon ETO drill, and then send it that way, and that'll provide you a lot of additional information. You can CC your own commercial email just to have another backup and kind of see what it would look like if the other side doesn't have Winlink. And then, of course, your local exercise coordinator. So the coordinators can tell you what address. In San Diego, for example, they would add SDG-drill. In Hawaii, it would be Hawaii Aries. But don't limit yourself to just Tsunami. That's the base. We do highly encourage you to do ETO drill as well as your local exercise coordinator, as well as your own commercial email. You cannot overdo this, for the simple reason you do want to see how the different paths are receiving the information. And there are additional benefits, like ETO drill will give you feedback. Your local exercise coordinator will give you feedback. All right, comments. Line 1, exercise. Line 2 is your group. for me, it would be LAX Northeast, and I would do a semicolon and add ETO drill or ETO if I'm sending to ETO as well. Or if I wanted to affiliate with Hawaii Aries in addition, I could do LAX Northeast semicolon ETO. Comma is all good. Hawaii Aries, comma, ETO. All of that's okay. If you do not have a group affiliation, use solo, SOLO, all caps. That way we know that you're flying solo and participating on your own recognizance, I should say, right? Any questions about that? By the way, the Did You Feel It and the Welfare Bulletin Board do not have separate lines, so it all needs to be on one line. So it would be exercise, LX Northeast, SDG Aries, and then, the additional information. All right, again, this is all the information that I just showed you is on this website. You can scan the QR code, and that has the step-by-step instructions. Let's talk about the dashboard real quick, and I'll show you what that looks like live. So we have a Tsunami exercise dashboard. Right now, there are a couple of test forms on there. You have a card here that shows how many reports are matching. You've got filters, usually on top, depending. And when you drop down those filters, the matching reports will only show the filtered versions here. You can see the exercise idea. If you're wondering what Thor is, that's our Thursday operational exercise, right? And so that was one of our exercises here locally. You can see that they're actually mapped here, and these colors we matched with the USGS colors. So you can see the map. You can click on any point of the map to see information. You can, and I'll show you that live, you can actually filter for different call signs here. And here are some statistics, right? Report count by Mercalli intensity. In this case, we got 4 reports with Mercalli intensity 6. We got 3 Mercalli intensity 7. Pretty straightforward, right? And that's also on the website. We've tried to make this easy. You can see that we have tabs on top here. You will see the check-ins, check-outs. You will see the Did You Feel It? You will see the ICS 213, as well as the Welfare Bulletin Board. And the Pegelstund is a German form that they're using for rivers, so don't worry about that. That's an additional part in their exercise. So this will be for Germany, Austria, Switzerland, I don't know, Norway. Whoever wants to play, they can use the Pegelstund system there. All right, and a couple of things about the ICS 213. Yeah, as you can see, it'll show the to, it'll show the from, it'll show the subject, the date, the time, and the message. So as you're replying to these messages, keep in mind all of that is public knowledge. Part of this is, 1, amateur radio is pretty much all public knowledge. And 2, what we're asking for might be useful when you look at people in your area. They may have additional information. And part of this is that we all get better prepared, and we want you to know what resources you have available locally and see what your neighbors say are the local resources they can find information from. So that's part of the exercise, giving it that extra push. All right, so far, do we have any questions, comments, suggestions before we go into the live demo?
Question.
Question, go.
Okay, and the DFYI comments, the second line is other entities that will be doing something with the DFYI. You separated it with commas instead of semicolons.
Yeah, the organization that you affiliate with. For example, let's say your organization is a great example for this, right? If you are Dennis, you could affiliate with Eastern Kern County Aries, right? EKC Aries, comma, SJV Aries, the San Joaquin Valley section, right? Aries. So that's kind of where the idea there is coming from. Does that make sense? So you can have more than one affiliation.
No, understood, and that's perfectly appropriate. So it's not being used as a Winlink address at any point if it's in the comments.
That's correct.
Does anybody process? Okay, so all right, Thank you.
No, excellent. Great question. All right, Gene, you had a question?
Yes, I may have missed it, but is Telnet allowed? And if so, any modification to the ICS 213 or any other form relating to Telnet being the message route?
Okay, answer number one, absolutely, Telnet is allowed. We want you to have fun with the exercise on your terms. And two, the only modification is that you put in Telnet when you do the did you feel it report, or when you do the the other reports, wherever it asks for the mode, just put in Telnet. The one thing I do ask, please, for the love of God, um, do not put not available on the check-in and the checkout, because that's absolutely useless. It just makes no sense to me even as an option, right? If it's internet, then it's Telnet regardless, right? So great question. I really appreciate that. But absolutely, it's allowed to do that. And again, we want you to, you'll be working here. And just keep in mind, because I know some of you will be cussing when you're getting onto page 15 and you're thinking, why did I start doing this? But keep in mind that our operators locally will have bed availability reports, ICS 213s, resource requests, and all that in addition to this. So, and APRS. So we're keeping our folks busy, right?
All right, thanks a lot. That was a lot of great information tonight. I've been taking some notes, and I'll be printing out some slides tomorrow to go over and check out, make sure my systems are working okay, and I can find everything. I know that 213, 214, that should be no problem. The did you feel it? That might be a little bit different, but I'll have time to play.
Excellent. And by the way, if any of you want to have the slide deck, even though it says copyright, you can absolutely have the slide deck. We have a whole press kit with pre-made messages that you can use to send out to your group, use on your social media, and to generate interest. And you're more than welcome to have that. Just drop me an email at k6oli@arrl.net. k6oli@arrl.net. I'll put it in the chat too. Shall we go through an example real quick? Well, first, let me show you the dashboard real quick, and then we'll do an example exercise. Is that, or message? Is that okay? We're doing okay on time,
Yeah, you're
right?
fine. You're fine, Oliver.
Perfect. Yes. Cool. All right. So this is the dashboard. So you can see here, I'm on this website. I'll pop that in the chat again for those of you who like to follow along. Only I can find my chat. There you go. Cool. So keep in mind, for whatever reason, Chrome has a problem with the embedding on this. If you're using it often enough, I don't know why, but if you use the incognito mode, which of course isn't incognito, it's Google, but it works fine, right? Just FYI, right? All right, let's go this. Let's go through this here. Let me just. Go back to the. All right. So here is our dashboard. You can see the check-ins, check-outs, the did you feel it reports, the ICS 213 reports, and the welfare bulletin board. And here's the German one. But we put in the check-in and check-outs on the same page. Again, these numbers will disappear because we're going to filter everything out before the 22nd, so that won't be there. It's just an example. Couple of things I want to show you. The date, you can filter by date. Let's say if you wanted to see our exercise from last week, you can do only and just show this was actually the Winlink Treff, the German group here, and they had 7 reports, 7 check-ins, and 5 check-outs. So somebody didn't check out there. You can filter by organization, right? We had one from LAX Northeast, right? And that actually filters and shows you that was me, K6OLI, and shows you both of those. And of course, you can bring that all back if you click on here. If you wanted to see, I don't know, check-ins from, it'll be fun here, KM6TKJ, right? Now, I only wanted to see him. I could go down here and click only. And then you can see his check-ins, checkouts, 4 and 4, right? You could do multiple selections if you wanted to see DK8RV and KM6TKJ. Then you can see this is DK8RV, right? And KM6TKJ. Let's say you wanted to see everybody who has a 7 in their call sign. You could actually put this in, and there you go. You've got Finn, right? So you could only see Finn, or you could see Finn in the other 7 station, DM7AT. Does that make sense? Pretty straightforward, right? All right. Another cool little trick. Did you feel it? Same thing. You can actually see I want to see only the stations that have intensity 6. I'll show the 6s. You click it again, brings everybody back. From date, exercise ID. And this is why the Tsunami exercise, please do not modify the Tsunami exercise ID. For us, it's, let's put it that way, it's a nuisance, but it's not bad. But for USGS, they actually have to post-process that, and it's not happening. So please, we told them the exercise ID would be Tsunami, so please use just Tsunami as the exercise, all caps, right? ID. But so keep that in mind. You can do that. And by the way, if you want to send test messages between now and then, you're welcome to do that. And as I said, we'll start filtering on the 22nd, but send a test message for each and every one of these to Tsunami just to see how it works. Keep in mind the processing time is about an hour. Same for the ICS 213. You can see in this case, we had an exercise which had flooding. This was a German exercise, which was kind of fun. We had our people translate it and then do the exercise. But you can see you can fill in quite a lot of information there, right? And then the welfare bulletin board, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is in the California, and all of that is in our instructions, is in the California folder because we didn't have another place to stick it in. But as you can see, Hawaii is using it, Washington's using it, people on the East Coast are using it, Europeans are using it, and that's what it's intended to do. The idea of the welfare bulletin board is to inform the people who may not be hams and give them a place to go to find updates. I actually used it during the Eaton fire to stay in contact with my friends and family outside of California, and that proved to be really useful. So if you look at Eaton, you can see the different Eaton fire ones. And those were real events for most of it, except for this one, right? So just keep that in mind. Spelling matters, but that's how this works. You can find all the information, including this presentation we're on here right now, with an introduction, step-by-step information right here, what we're asking people to do. It's all on one website, explanation of what Tsunami Zone is. And I'll show you the registration in a moment. You have an exercise scenario with some fun pictures, right? Here's the flooding, here are the landslides, good fun. And then, of course, you have the exercise step-by-step instructions. You can download them here. So all you have to do is click on this and then click on download up here. You guys see that? And then it'll download in the background onto your, wherever that is. In my case, it's always the downloads folder, right? But you can have all of this information is there. We have a PDF preview. You can find all the information on here. It's pretty well structured, I think. Thank you so much to Bob, KM6SO, who did a fantastic job with the feedback. We do have some extra bonus here that I'll show you in a moment. but we explain what we're asking people to do, but we don't go into excruciating detail. We want people to make errors and make mistakes. That's part of the learning process, right? There is an HFnet for those of you who are so inclined, and the communications plan is also listed on here. That's somebody else is organizing this as part of this exercise, but David KK60A is organizing it. But the ICS 205 is on here. So by all means, come here, take a look on where net control is and what the other frequency there is, depending on the time of date. We certainly encourage you to check in if you have that capability. And, if you want to send your messages via HF Winlink, here's a little thing. Try something 250 kilometers or farther from your location, just to make it more fun. We have frequently asked questions, and we have a bunch of videos about tsunami preparedness, which I highly recommend because it's not just tsunamis that you're learning about. It's flooding you learn about in general preparedness too, right? Just from different resources here. All right. So you get kind of a holistic view of this. All right. Before we go on, and I'll show you a Winlink part, let me show you how to register your group for Tsunami Zone because it's not that obvious. So what you want to do is you can come to our website here and go to the Tsunami Zone link, click on that, it will open another tab. And then you can click register for first time. You select your country, right? United States, your email address. I'm already registered, right? And then it's the same thing for those of you who've done Shakeout. It's exactly the same thing as Shakeout. The nice thing is once you're registered, you will get the PDF to download. If you want to see who is participating, let me show you this. There's this link up here, who is participating. Can you guys see that? All right. If you scroll down here, you can see all these different groups. If you go down, go down, go down, you see the volunteer radio groups. All right. And you click on that. And you can see for 2025, there are 1,275 participants with 39 volunteer radio groups. And you got Dan's outfit here, the San Joaquin Valley section. You got Aries LAX, you got San Diego County Aries. And then you have a whole host of groups here in the Caribbean. The Puerto Rico, Venezuela is very strong here. We've got the German and the Austrian groups, we've got Oregon, and we've got quite a few groups from Washington, right? So please add yourself and keep in mind, this is great advertising for you, right? Because here's the thing, if you're going to the Aries LAX link and you click on that, guess where you land? On the tsunami exercise, right? But if you're with a different group, for example, let's go back. If you are with the San Joaquin Valley section, maybe let's try, there you go, Mercer Island radio operators, right? You click on that, guess what? You've got Mercer Island there. So this is good advertising for your groups, right? Because you can share that afterwards with your partner agencies and can say, you know what? We did this. So take pride in that. All right. So that was the dashboard and the website. Any questions about that? Nothing heard. All right. Either I'm explaining it really well or really badly. All right. On that happy note, let's go bring this back up and let me show you one quick thing about the instructions. Again, they're step-by-step instructions. We give you all the resources we want you to use. But let's say we want to do an exercise here. Well, let's walk through one or maybe two messages. Couple of things that you can do here is if you have an exercise coordinator and you're distributing it, let's say N8 SBE. Dave, I'll use you, right? N8 SBE. You could add this, you can save this then, and you could send this out, and then you can encourage your people to say, listen, enter your latitude and longitude. Let's find what my latitude, I'm using Bing here. You can use Google, works exactly the same way. Let's say I wanted to enter this, any point here, I can copy the information. Do you see that? Right mouse click, copy the information. Google Maps works exactly the same way. I can paste this in here, I can paste this in there. And then this is my latitude, so I'll delete the longitude. This is my longitude, so I'll delete the latitude. Please, for those of you in North America, leave the minus there. That means that it's Western longitude. It's important because if you take the minus out, you will be located in China, right? But it's a good thing to have that as a reference, right? So if this were me right now, I'd like to fill this out. N8SBE is my local coordinator. Let's do an example. What would you guys like to see, guys and girls? What would you like to see? So we have a, did you feel it or check in? One of the two. Pick one. Did you feel it?
Yep, check in.
All right,
Check in
so
so you can show where to make sure the data is attached to the check-in form.
tell you what, we'll do it. Did you feel it? And we'll do a check-in in a quick format because this is recorded. You can always go back and see it. Does that sound like a plan? All right. So in this case, let's start with it. Did you feel it? And again, we tell you what we're looking for. We explain what we're looking for. And here's the format. And here's an example, right? So let's do this together. I will bring up my Winlink. And if I go too fast, please stop me. I'm used to doing this a lot, but my timing can be off, right? So first thing I like to do is, because I do have the latitude, longitude here, right? I like to go into my position report because it makes my life a lot easier. And let's go back and just copy this information here. You can also copy it. Remember how we put it in the form here? You can copy it from there. But there's a reason for this. I'll show you in a moment what I do. I just use this as a quick reference, right? So don't worry about the comment here. But I do control copy. And now I paste just the information, my latitude here. And I do the same thing with my longitude because I'm lazy. I don't want to hand enter this. Remembering to leave the minus in there. And if I did that right, we should be west. So let's tab out of this. West, that's good, looking good. Now, I have not checked this down here. So when I click close, right, where do we expect my location to be when I check it? Anybody? The center of my grid square. By default, Winlink Express will locate you at the center of your grid square. And let me show you this for a moment. This is bonus because you guys took the time tonight to be here. This is bonus training. All right. So this is the location. You can see it says Huntington Hospital, right? I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see where this is located in relation. How do I check my own location? I can go to the form map, and any of these work, right? Let's say check-ins. Most of us will have a check-in version 5 from somebody else. I display the map, and you see the green one? That's me. So I can zoom in. All right. Can you all see this map? This point here on the map?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where Huntington Hospital is, right? Where we have the latitude and the longitude. Was right here at this point. But this is where Winlink thinks I'm at. This is about 2 miles difference, right? So it's fine if you're dropping a large enough bomb, I guess, but you know, for MCOM work, probably you want a little bit more precision. So how do we fix this? Well, let's close this. Let's close this. Let's go back into our position report. And remember how we hand filled this in just now with the information, with this information, right? Now we click this box here. If no GPS, use the position report location. This location, because that's our position report. Just check that box. We click close. Where do we expect the green teardrop to be now?
At the hospital.
Exactly. Let's see whether we're right here. Display, and guess where we're at?
Yep.
Dave, you're getting gold star. Thank you. But that's precisely it. Why does this matter? Well, if you're doing it this way, then all the forms you're using now will use the correct address rather than the center of your grid square. And center of the grid square can be really annoying, especially for ICS 213s, because on the Winlink maps, they're all stacking up, right? So just keep that in mind. All right. We said we do did you feel it first, right? All right. Slow it down. New message. Select template. Standard templates. And we want to go to USGS. Can everybody see that?
Mhm.
And we can do the USGS, did you feel it? Text. We'll double click that. And that brings up the USGS form right here. And I'll make it a little bit larger. All right. So let's fill this out together. Let's do Tsunami as our exercise ID, right? And for those of you interested, we did have a 3.9 earthquake right after the Academy Awards the other night. Our group actually used this for regular reports, right? Did you feel it? Please fill out, yes, we felt it. I'm not going to adjust the date, but on the day off, you would do the 29th, or if you send it on the 22nd, you would send the 22nd, but please do not predate it. So we'll just do 305. So we're just sending it now. On the day off, fill in your local time, whatever that is. This is part of the whole system, so just keep that in mind. I'll keep that default. Street address. Ideally, you have your full street address. Boulevard. That's for Huntington Hospital. Pasadena, CA905. Keep in mind that this is now the address, the latitude, longitude that we filled in earlier, right? So that's auto filled in for this address. But it's good to have this as a backup. And then what was your situation? Shall we go through the questions real quick? All right, let's do that. Inside a building, I'm talking to you. I'm on the second floor. How tall is the building? 2 stories. Where you sleep? I don't know. There are a lot of cameras off, so I don't know how many of you are asleep at this point, but I'm not. So there you go. Did others nearby feel it? Oh, we were on Zoom. Everybody felt it, right? Let's say we had strong shaking. How did you react? And yes, I call this the macho question. By the way, women never have a problem with this. For them, this is a data point and they move on with life. But for some reason, the guys say, well, what does the federal government need to know whether I'm afraid? I'm like, dude, you can skip it or say not specified. Don't have to answer any of these questions, right? I usually get very excited when we have earthquakes, right? But just keep in mind, it's a data point. That's all it is. A very large earthquake will probably have you pretty frightened. But again, if you don't want to share that, no reaction because you're cool as a cucumber no matter what happens. How did you respond? Drop and cover, right? That's the right answer, whatever you do. Or took no action. But don't move to a doorway. Please do not fill that out. Was it difficult to stand? Let's say yes. Yeah, we had a lot of swinging. There were loud noises. And did objects rattle? Sure, few toppled and fell off because it was big. Did pictures? Yes, but in our case, it did not fall. Why? Because we have these extra earthquake safe or reduction. And we also don't have any pictures above our bed, by the way. This is really not a good idea in earthquake country. Did any furniture, appliance, and topple over? And just think about the physics of, have you ever tried to topple over your fridge? It's pretty hard to do. So in that case, let's say, no, they didn't topple over or become, but where they, yeah, let's say they shifted by inches, right? So it was a pretty hefty one. Were freestanding walls or fences damaged? Yes, some were cracked. Or maybe you don't know because you were inside, right? And then let's say large cracks in the wall and ceiling tiles fell. And here comes the fun part, right? So there are no extra, so I can hit enter all I want here. It won't do anything. So let's go back to the exercise and take a look what the exercise is asking for here. It's asking for the word exercise, then the group, then the band, then the session, and any additional comments. So let's do this. Let's do, turn on the caps lock, exercise. My group is LAX Northeast, and I'm going to say I'm also doing this with ETO, if, you know, and because I like SDG Aries, right? This could be my 3 affiliations if that's how I participate. And then the next question is, what band was I using? Let's say I was on 20 meters. With Vara, Vara HF. If you have Pactor, more power to you, right? And this is intent. If you have to send it another way, then send it another way, right? So just don't sweat this. Try to be as truthful as you can. All right. And then any additional comments? And we could say something like having fun with the tsunami exercise, right? Additional comment. You can fill out the earthquake early warning if you want to. You don't have to. So let's just say submit, and we got a 7. Yes, that's what we were aiming for, right? And you can see negligible, good design, construction, considerable damage in poorly built or badly designed structures. Some chimneys broken. Okay, that's the estimate. Then click OK. And the next thing you want to do here is click Tsunami. Add in the CC, add Tsunami semicolon ETO dash drill, right? And then let's say my exercise coordinator is Dave. I'll stick with that. And 8 SBE. And if I wanted to, I do K6OLI at ARRL.net. And then we'll post this to Outbox, right? And here you can see the information we filled in. Post this to Outbox. One thing I would highly recommend everybody do is check your Outbox and look at the attachments. There should be a form data.txt. If that's missing, your report cannot be mapped by our system because it relies on the form data.txt. USGS is mapping this stuff, right? But pretty much anything Winlink related requires the form data.txt. So if you have an issue and it's not showing up after an hour, maybe take a look at your sent items and check for that form data. If it's not there, just fill out another message and send that again. Sometimes it's just a hiccup. All right. And then all we have to do is get into a Winlink session of any type and then send it. I'm not going to do that right now, but just as a demonstration. Is that clear? All right, shall we do an ICS? What was it? A check-in? I think I still have 5 minutes, right, Anthony?
Yes.
All right, so let's do a check-in. And remember, all those instructions are, and you can read them through beforehand. Take your time. Fill out a couple of tests. You don't have to do this dry. So let's do a check-in. In that case, we'll go to we filled out our did you feel it, right? Here we have the Mercalli intensity scale. You can read that because we're asking for 6 or higher. You just want to see a lot of people frightened, right? Check-in. All right, check-in is asking us for additional things. So let's go to the check-in, select template. And again, all of that is pointed out in the instructions step by step. You go to your general forms, Winlink check-in. You can set up, in this case, your organization. Let's say I want to do LAX Northeast. It's my primary affiliation. Puts it in there, makes the organization easier. The optional incident is Tsunami. You can adjust the date time. I'm not going to do that right now. And I'm going to send it to Tsunami, right? We're keeping this pretty easy, straightforward. Incident ID is Tsunami, and the address, the to is Tsunami. Of course, you could add ETO-drill here. Oops. So semicolon, ETO-drill, and N8 SBE, who is for tonight our exercise coordinator, right? Thanks so much, Dave, for being a good sport. And of course, you could send it to your own email address as well if you want to. In my case, my name is Oliver, and I'm the initial operator. If you have several people on site, by all means, put all their call signs in there. So I could put in semicolon K6NHI. She's operating with me. Then exercise, amateur. We had a question about Telnet. So if you send it via Telnet, click Telnet. If you send it via VHF, VARA FM, that's a good combination. If you do Arden, SHF and mesh, or Hamnet, you can do SHF mesh, right? Let's go Telnet. Oops, I thought they fixed that. Oh well. So we'll stay with Telnet. Location. City and state is usually enough, but if you're already filling it out for the other, please, you can add your entire address there. See how the latitude and longitude is still what we set up earlier? It's identical to what we had in Did You Feel It? Because we checked that little box in the position report. All right. And then comments. Now, this is where the exercise is asking me to do a couple of things. So let's go and do those step by step. In this case, the first thing it's asking me is operational capabilities. So let's put in our operational capabilities. There you go. And in my case, that would be HF, VHF, UHF, and comma, and Arden, right? So that would be my operational capabilities. If I had to do something, that's what I would bring. Then the deployment posture is asking me, am I mobile or stationary? So if you do a lot of parks in the air, you want to do the exercise outside, by all means, do that. And I will be deploying that day, so I will be mobile. Or you could also use portable if you wanted to, but I'm going to use mobile. And then is my station in a tsunami zone? Station in tsunami zone. How do I know that? Well, here's the information. I click on the tsunami zone, know your zone. Yes, let's open that. And then I can check, right? So if I'm in none of these states, then I'm probably not. But you can see maps of various states. And we can check it here, clickable map. And then I could check here, right? Or I can go back and check my, where's the California one? It's always a good one. What did they do? Well, this is part of the fun, right? There you go. My hazards from Cal OES. Disclaimer. All right. So in this case, remember how we had 100 West California Boulevard, Pasadena, CA 9105. And I'm just going through this step by step. If you live in Arizona, then the answer is no. You know, you don't have to go through this rigmarole. But you can check here and you can see I'm not anywhere near a tsunami zone. Because if we zoom out here, it's a bit slow tonight. You can see this down here. This is where the tsunami zones are, right? We do have our own, hazards here with I think that's a Raymond fault, but no tsunami. So my answer to this question, I can go back to this, is no. Then the next question on this, and again, we want you to work through this. So station in area prone to flooding. Station in area prone to flooding. All right. And what we want you to do here is to go to the FEMA website. Enter your address, again, 100 West California Boulevard, Pasadena, CA 911. Maybe you know the answer off the top of your head, but there you go. I mistyped. All right, but you can see we're not in a flood zone here, so that's good news. The answer is no. Browse around a little bit. Again, I would expect to be in a flood zone down there. In this area, you can see the flood zones here, right? So keep that in mind. This may be different for you, but we want you to play around with this a little bit. All right, and so we go no, and let's double check, make sure we got everything. Oh, there you go. We should have added exercise like with everything. Exercise. And then my second line should be my group affiliation, LAX Northeast, ETO, and what do we do? SDG Aries, just as an example. And then do submit. Like, okay. And now our message is here. You can see it's Tsunami ETO drill, N8 SBE, and here are our answers. We post to Outbox, we go to the Outbox, and I would recommend double checking, making sure the attachment is there, form data is there, which means it can be mapped, and then connect to our session and send it. All right. Any questions about this whatsoever? Does it look like a lot of work? Yes. Is it a lot of work? Yes. Do we want you to get something out of it? Yes. The ICS 213 will ask you about resources for emergency management available in your area. So keep that in mind. That came in super handy during the Eaton fire for us, sharing these kinds of resources, knowing where to go. And that's where a lot of this is also coming from. We want you to think about your situation because when the fire is running over the hill, you don't have time for it. So be prepared now, make it part of your exercises, and have fun. And with that, let me go back here. Any more comments, questions, anything?
Yes, we have some in the chat. Barry, you want to read those?
Sure. Cindy wants to know when you're doing the additional comments, and it's supposed to be separated by commas. If you have 3 separate groups, do you put in the group name without any comments or in between the 3 groups?
I would do commas on everything. That makes life a lot easier for everybody. Good question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else in chat, Barry?
Oh, that was all.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyone have questions? I'm going to go ahead and remove the spotlight. If you have questions, please raise your hand. Got a lot of people here, so raise your hand if you have a question. We'd be happy to take your questions.
I think
Dave,
Dave
go ahead.
Yeah, I had it in the chat. I guess you guys missed it. It turns out that when you put something in the outbox and you have your location set, the text message itself has a line that says location with a lat and a lon listed in it, which is not it's not part of the attachment template. Now, it turns out that ICS, or if the check-in forms and check-out forms will automatically fill in the locations on the template, but the blasted ICS 213 does not. And I have complained about this on the Winlink developers list, and they said, well, you know, the text message itself has a location in it, so you're just fine. You don't need it. And I don't think that works, because if you're trying to do mapping based on received ICS 213 forms, the people are going to miss it if they don't manually fill in that Latin long on the ICS 213.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. The thing about this field here, it will be filled in if you have a GPS attached.
No, it doesn't. I have a GPS attached, and it still doesn't fill it in.
Well, then that's an issue.
Yeah,
'Cause-
that's what I was trying to tell them. But they're going, oh no, there's a location message in your text message, so that's just fine. You don't need it. So I don't know how to get through to these people to get them to fix the form.
Yep, sorry. Well, I can
Yeah.
bring it up with Greg, because he and I, we've been working on the welfare bulletin board as well. So but we can certainly look into it, Again, I think hand filling it in, that's part of the reason why we offer these boxes here and this is part of what real emergency response is like. There are a lot of empties, there are a lot of things that need to be filled in, and we do this every year with the medical resource and surge exercise, where we're a really small part of LA County's very large exercise. And we very often are handed forms that are incomplete, that we know that the county will not accept. So what our operators do in a very friendly, collegial tone, they point that out and say, listen, you'll get your stuff faster if we do this right the first time. And we've had really good feedback from our hospital partners, because they appreciate that we have their back. So it's not like, well, you need to. No, it's just, listen, we're going to send it any which way you want us to send it. But if we fill these things out now, we will get our resources quicker. That's usually a good argument. So again, having this, one of the nice things here, if you have it in a different place, is you could just pop it in here, right?
Yep.
And then if we do this, see, it actually populates our field here. So again, this is one of those things where I think it's good practice and kind of understand what you're dealing with. Also keep in mind that what the people you're working with that don't have Winlink see is, let me pull this up. They see this. They don't see the nice form and whatnot, so they get this information, and that's important to keep in mind, right?
Right. So if you scroll up a little bit, though, you'll see that there's a line in the text part of the message that says location. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it does fill that in. But again, the ICS 213 form itself is not doing it in the form data.
Yeah, but Dave,
you have to type it in manually every time you send a 213. Now, somebody pointed out, well, you can go and load initial data from a previous message. So I guess that's one way of dealing with it. But I just find that just really annoying to have to constantly be filling in that data when all the other message in the GIS forms, all the others do it for you, but this one doesn't.
Dave, may I point something out?
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, you have it up here, but it's not in the form. You're absolutely right, but it's down here. It is in the message.
Yeah, but was that a 213 form? No, that's the check-in. The check-in does it. It's the 213 form that does not.
Well, we need to try that out, because that's a real thing. Well, as long as I have it once. But again, this should be an easy fix. So
yeah, you would think so.
Having worked with forms before, so yeah. But we'll test it out and see what we can do. But thank you so much for the feedback. All right, but is the overall exercise clear? We do want you to spend an hour at least on this. Take more time if you need more time. And then think about the average or the normal duty cycle that you have is 12 hours. And that's what we want you to think about a little bit when you're getting a lot of this traffic thrown at you, what you would do, right? So I hope this was informative, and I hope we got you really excited about this exercise, and that you have all the data you need to go out and share that with your groups, get your friends involved in this. And again, this is your exercise. Make it your own if you have additional traffic. Can you send more than one ICS 213? Absolutely. Can you send more than one welfare message? By all means, you can. I think those are super practical. And if you have somebody out of state you'd like to contact, give them a call before and say, hey, listen, this is part of my exercise. Don't be alarmed, but it would be great if you provided some feedback on the welfare bulletin board, for example, right? So those are things that we really want you to think about and work with and have a lot of fun. At the end of the day, this is about fun. Again, the welfare bulletin board, you can sort by, well, this needs to be changed, but again, sender, this should be city actually. That needs to be updated. And so keep that in mind. We want you to have a lot of fun and try this out as we go forward. All right.
Dan, WL7COO, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Let's see. So David Wall, I think, got pretty enthusiastic about third-party DFYIs, where somebody, an amateur radio operator, verbally gets the information to complete a did you feel it form. And I'm just guessing that nobody's paid attention to how to indicate that it is third party and wondering if we want that someplace in the comments. And
yeah, if you wanted to put in where it says comments via voice or voice relay, by all means, you can do that. USGS, when we first started the Did You Feel It program, it was please one person, one form, but they changed that last year. So by all means, if you want to do take voice traffic for this and walk people through and send it on their behalf, the address obviously has to be their address, not your address. But
or their location, or their location.
Right, the location
if they're
there
en route to someplace, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's a result of CERT becoming very much enamored by a lot of local agencies. And then I got a surprise notice about the Tsunami exercise from another organization. And would it not be useful to also list that under capabilities?
Well, if you're part of that organization and you check in, you can actually check them.
Say that again? Oh, on the check-in and check-out, yeah, that's there.
Yeah, and if you want that as part of your affiliation, of your group affiliation, it could be SJV, Aries, and the other organization.
Well, I was wondering if USGS would want it in the comments and did you feel it?
As far as the USGS is concerned, you cannot give them too much information because they actually evaluate these comments. They go through them. I had conversations with them where they said, we had this guy from Burbank saying the following thing. And I just like, wait, what? So they get to that granularity. So keep that in mind. They actually read these things, and they take that pretty seriously. So,
and the last thing is, when do you want us to stop practicing prior to the 29th?
On the 21st.
Up to the 21st. Okay, because this is the kind of thing that, even myself, in the stress of getting something done, especially against a timeline, I need to practice it till it's almost muscle memory. And that's advantageous because everybody makes mistakes. And when you're thinking about too many things, you're going to make mistakes. So checklists that you have are superbly valuable, but maybe not. So you'll remember this stuff for the forms if you've done it 4 or 5 times in exercises on your own or with your very local group.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a great point. Here's the thing. We want people to make mistakes. And the reason why we have the dashboard is you say, okay, you can go back, take a look at your own submission, and then say, you know what, for next time, I'll remember this. That's how learning happens.
I'll
So there's
apologize to
nobody,
you.
no, none of us will come, as Lou, as my friend Lou AC6LS is fond of saying, if you make a mistake, you get 10 lashes with a wet noodle. Nobody's going to come to your home and with a wet spaghetti and swing the spaghetti. That's not the point. The point here is we want you to go and check.
If you don't make mistakes, the exercise wasn't worth doing.
Exactly.
Period.
So
Okay.
feel good
But
about making mistakes, and that's good fun. So thank you so much, Dan. Excellent points. By the way, there's another Dan, N7XDL, who had a question about, do we want one submission if you're in a group, or can multiple people in the same group submit forms? By all means, multiple people can submit forms. We want as many people to participate as possible, because here's the thing, and I'll bring this back to the Eaton fires that we had not too long ago. When all the chips are down and your reptilian brain is driving your actions, you will remember the things you practice. And I can tell you, after having been to 8 different meetings from different clubs and whatnot, we have people in our group who lost their homes. We have people who are in the middle of remediation, because just because the home is standing doesn't mean you can inhabit it. There's smoke, there's all kinds of stuff. But all of our hams in our group brought their kids, they brought their family members, and they brought all their documentation. And if you're thinking the family member thing is a funny quip, it's not. Watch 60 Minutes, where this man thought his sister who lived next door was right behind him, and she wasn't. And she didn't make it. So this exercise, with all the fun we're having, I mean, come on, look at this image behind me, right? With all the fun we're having, there's a very serious underlying component to this. And that's to keep you and your family safe. And I do want to say a big, big thank you to all the collaboration group members. Dan, Bob from ETO, Dennis, all of you who participate in this. It's a list that's Hawaii, San Diego, all our friends who are really enthusiastic, all of our friends in Washington who are really enthusiastic, because there is a reason we do this. This is a tsunami scenario, but you'll act exactly the same in a fire, hurricane, tornado. It's about making sure your family is safe, communicating, getting quality information, knowing who to talk to before things get bad. One of the big advantages we had when all 10 million of us got an evacuation notice on the 8th of January, and we were all getting kind of, holy smokes, we all need to leave. Turned out that they were getting tired too at the county, right? And it was an error. But we were able, within 60 seconds, to verify whether this was a real alert or not, because we knew where to go. So those are the lessons we want to underline, want to take away with us. And I think I don't want to overstay my welcome, so I do want to say thank you, all of you, for having me, for being here tonight. Sorry, no cool IEEE truck, but I think the tsunami exercise will be fun. If you have any questions, if you want to have our little press kit with the pre-written messages, reach out, k6oli@arl.net. You're welcome to do that. Remember, you can save the chat. Always good information. Oh, and I see Bob KM6 as always here. By all means, reach out. Plenty of information. This is recorded, so you can go back and look it up. And thank you so much to the RATPAC for making these fantastic meetings happen. And thank you so much for having me back. And we will do an after action at some point.
Thank you very much, Oliver. And the session will be posted in the next 2 to 3 days on the RATPAC YouTube site. So again, thanks for Oliver tonight, and tomorrow night join us again for RATPAC, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, same Zoom channel.
Will there be any feedback, Oliver, after the exercise posted somewhere?
Yes, and I think Dan mentioned to actually have after action meeting here on the RATPAC where all of you can bring back lessons learned and things that you thought went well. One of the things we do with every exercise we do, no matter how big or small is, we ask everybody in our group one thing that went well, one thing we can improve, and did you have fun? Those are the three things we ask every time. All right. So thank you so much, and we will provide after action.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, Gene,
So-
Gene has a hand up.
No, you just answered, the question was just answered about the after action report. And would that also be displayed on the dashboard and somehow?
Everything will be on the same website. Yes,
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well,
absolutely.
already all over that.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to now close the meeting. We'll see you tomorrow night.